Hey everybody, it's Toby again. So I wanted to do the 7 Witchy Questions tag that Ember Honeyraven posted a while ago. I don't remember how long it was at this point. Sorry, I've had a lot of caffeine today. But I wanted to do that tag really quick before I leave the library and no longer have access to decent internet. So here we go. So the first question is, what was your biggest disaster spell-wise? So, way back when Toby was still a baby pagan and casting spells and whatnot willy-nilly, um, I decided that I was going to cast a love spell because that was smart of me to do. So I got together all the stuff and got a picture of the person and cast the love spell. And it worked great for about 2 months. And then it all fell apart. It was the worst idea that I had ever done in my life. Things got bad. And I wish that I had not done that. So number 2, something you wish someone told you when you were a new witch, pagan, Wiccan, whatever. I think what I wish that people would have told me when I first started out was that you don't need stuff. Like, you don't need things to practice. All you need is yourself. You don't need every other thing. You don't need an athame. You don't need a wand. You don't need an altar, even. For the longest time, I was practicing without things to get used to not using them, because you don't need them. All you need is yourself and the energy, and that's it. That's all that you need. Stuff definitely helps to focus your energy, but you don't need it. And I wish that I had known that much earlier in my practice. But now that I know, it's much more helpful, and I plan to pass that on to any future students I have in my tradition, that you don't need all these things. These things help, but you don't need them. Number 3, biggest witchy pet peeve. So this one I've had an issue with since I started on this path. People who try to convince you that one form of Wicca is better than another, because they're not. One might be different than another, but that doesn't make it better or more authentic or more real or whatever. It's just not true. Your path is your path, and that's your business and not someone else's. For them to tell you that your path is wrong, but their path is right, I can't stand that. That bothers me to no end. Coming from a tradition that is often looked on as not part of British traditional Wicca, and some groups don't even think that my tradition is part of Wicca itself, bothers me, because we are clearly Wiccan. We follow the same exact things, almost, not totally. There are some differences here and there, but on the whole, we are a Wiccan tradition. No group can claim that they're more authentic, because it's not a thing. Like, you could have a direct line to Gerald Gardner. That's great. Even if I don't have that, like, even if I can't trace that back all the way, that doesn't make me not Wiccan. But that's just my opinion, so whatever. So number 4, when did you first know that there was something different about your spirituality? So I would say when I was probably like 7 or 8, I had always had this kind of energetic kind of, I wouldn't say attraction, but difference in how I acted. Like, I could tell when someone was upset. I could feel pain or happiness from other people. and it was kind of weird for a while, and then I realized later in life that that was empathy, being like an empath. And it got to the point at one time where my sister's friend had gotten seriously injured, not seriously, but gotten burned, um, and I was in the same room when it happened, and I was fine for a minute or two, and then almost immediately after that, like minute or two of time of being in the same room with her, her pain was gone, and I was about to pass out. And I think at that point, I kind of subconsciously built up a wall around my empathy, which I've had to break down over the past few years, and am just now getting that back under control in the past year or so. So, but I think around 7 or 8 was when I realized that there was something different about me energetically, and then I slowly discovered Wicca as I got older. So number 5, best witchy book you've ever read. So I haven't read many fiction witchy books, unless you count like Harry Potter and Practical Magic, which I do love. Practical Magic, it is a great book, and a really good movie too. But I think the best witchy book that I've read is Wicca for Beginners by Thea Sabine. It's probably one of the best written ones that I've read, and actually goes over some really important information. And I recommend it to any of my friends who are interested in Wicca before I have like a conversation with them about it. I always like, read this book. If this is what you're into, come back and talk to me, and then I can get you in touch with different groups or my group or what have you. So number 6, best witchy TV show or movie. So TV show is definitely American Horror Story Coven. I love that movie or that TV show. It's so good. I could watch that season multiple times and not be like upset that I'm watching it again for like the 10th time. It's that good to me. And the best movie is by far The Craft. Yes, it's wrong. Yes, it's terrible. Whatever. It's amazing. Like, the things that they got wrong, fine. They got some things right, too. And hidden under all of that craziness, there's a couple truths in there. My favorite is in the bookstore when they're talking with the owner, and at one point she says something about there being no good or evil, and that nature keeps a balance all on its own, and that good or evil is only in the heart of the witch. That to me is one of the most truthful things that movie ever said, and to me it's beautiful. I can't remember the exact quote, but that quote from that movie has been my favorite quote from any movie for years. So number 7, have you ever doubted your craft? Oh boy, yes. A few times actually. So in my tradition, which I will talk about in depth a little more later, there are 5 different levels of, I don't want to say hierarchy, but kind of hierarchy, 5 different levels that you can attain. There are the traditional 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree initiation, and there are 2 pre-initiatory phases before that. There's Dedicant, which you can remain as pretty much forever and never have to move up to initiation. And there's Neophyte, which is kind of a pre-initiatory degree, which is where I am right now, and I'm working towards initiation. It's kind of the point where you learn all the responsibilities of being an initiate and are kind of forged by the gods into that. But before I was dedicated, I had a lot of like worries about, would I be good for this tradition? Would I have anything to offer? And because I knew that I wanted to be an initiate, I knew that from the moment I joined Blue Star that I wanted to be able to teach, that I wanted to move forward. And for a while, I kind of doubted that at one point. And it took one of the people in our tradition, one of the higher, like, third degrees, who like told me at one point that I would make a very good initiate one day, and that kind of revamped my energy and kind of got me back on track to getting to that point. And then I took dedication, everything was fine, and then I was working towards neophyte, and at one point I was like, oh no, do I really want to do this? Am I going to be able to make it through this? And my friend who had mentioned me being a good initiate at one point had passed away before I was able to take my neophyte, and I kind of just had a moment where I didn't know what to do, and his voice kept coming back in my head as like, you can do this, this is what you were meant to do, like this is you can do this. And that kind of pushed me forward to actually do it. And I know that he might not be here physically anymore, but I know that he is still here and will be here forever, and that he's always someone that I can go to and be like, hey, I'm having a rough time. And I always like hear his voice in the back of my head and like, you're doing great, you got this. And I'm really happy to have met him and miss him a lot, but that's okay. But yeah, so I've had a couple times where I've doubted my path. So it comes and goes in waves, but ultimately I am beyond happy that this is where I found myself on my path, and I would not change that for anything. And yeah, I love my Blue Star family, so. But that's all the questions. We did it. Huzzah! So I'm gonna put Ember Honey Raven's video down on the bottom, and Thorns as well, because that's the one that I've seen the most, just so people can watch both of those. And then if you guys want to leave comments or anything, or want to make a video response as well, that'd be awesome. See you guys later. Bye.